Welcome back. It's another episode of the Better Learning Podcast. We're talking Top Gun today. So if you like Top Gun or don't like Top Gun, we're talking the original, but I'm sure the new one is going. And I am really excited to bring in my co-host for the episode here, Stacey Waxtan. Stacey, how's it going?
It's going so well. I'm so excited to talk to you about Top Gun.
We've gotten to know each other a little bit over the years, and you've been like very adamant that you want to do Top Gun.
Yes, all day,
Why?
all day.
Why?
Well, I mean, okay, so this is from an educational standpoint, right? There are lots of classroom scenes in this movie, and it's just a feel-good movie from start to finish. There are triumphs, there are tragedies. I think it's the whole package. So,
Yeah. Yeah, well, it was fun to rewatch it. I mean, I'd seen it, many times, but it was probably, I don't even know, probably 10 or 15 years since I'd seen it. And then obviously I'd seen the newer Maverick one a couple
yes.
times since that one came out a few years ago. When was the last time you saw it?
Probably within the last 3 months, just
Okay.
from habit.
Yeah. Is it one of those like you purposely watch, or is it just like when it's on, you can't turn it
Oh,
off?
no, on purpose for sure. And it's just when I need that like invigoration and I just need like a little, boost. And um, truth be told, I don't know why, but it hasn't lodged in my brain, but I'm always surprised that the girl comes back at the end. No, sorry for the spoilers, but I'm always like, she came back.
I know.
And
All
live
right.
happily ever after.
Watching it again, I had a lot of issues with that relationship. So
Well, yes.
I'm gonna, yeah.
Yeah, that does not
Spoiler on some of that.
yeah,
Like
we
I
can
didn't
talk about
catch
that.
it the first time around. Now I'm watching. I'm like, yeah, that didn't seem right.
No, no. For sure.
All right. Well, I'll set it up here, and then we'll go through some award categories and chime in at any point. But I
Sure.
was just taking some notes going through this. I was kind of surprised on some of the ratings. I always look at IMDb. I don't know if that's
Uh-huh.
one that you look. I mean, Rotten Tomatoes is big, but IMDb to me is always like the truest score of like real people,
Yeah.
and it got a 7.0. I thought it would be higher because it is a classic
Yeah,
type of movie.
I wonder if you dig into that, right? If like if it had more negative reviews early on and before
Maybe.
people considered it the classic, the
Well,
standard, right?
yeah, yeah, maybe. Yeah,
Maybe.
yeah, yeah. But it was a loaded cast. It was 1986. This movie came out,
Yes.
like prime of Tom Cruise. Like he was like one of the hottest actors, or maybe this was like on the early wave of him being one of the hottest actors.
So he had Risky Business came out right before this, and then this like sealed the deal. Like he was like star, like mega
Yeah,
star. I
like for
think
the next 20,
first,
basically until now.
yeah. I mean, look, he's coming back and doing Mission Impossible. Like the guy is
Yeah,
doing his own stunts, and you know, God bless him, like for
yeah,
for
yeah.
being able to do all of that and having come onto the scene in the 80s.
Yeah. So going through the rest of the cast, like
Yes.
there's some big names. So Kelly McGillis is the main female lead. I
Yes.
don't I really don't know of her from any other movie other than this movie.
No, I would agree with you. And I don't know, I read a little bit, but then I felt that the online community was not very kind to her. So I kind of stopped reading at that point, just comments about what she did with the rest of her life. But I think she has lived well and because of this movie.
Yeah.
And then you have the other stars. I'll let you name
Yeah,
them.
I mean Val Kilmer, like huge star in that role, and then you get Anthony Edwards, who really like
Bruce.
his career goose like his career actually like that's probably his like most memorable role. But then he's got ER, which was like huge for
Yes.
him career wise.
Yes.
But this is way before that, and then you get kind of like the surprise ones in there of Meg Ryan,
Yes.
and Tim Robbins. I don't
Yes.
think I knew it was Tim Robbins.
Isn't that incredible?
Yeah.
Right? Before Shawshank? Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yep. Yep. Yeah, and then there are a couple of, like, Tom Skerritt has a big role. He's Viper in there, and he played that role perfect, like
Yes, I work with
perfectly.
someone who reminds me of Tom Skerritt.
Really.
Yeah.
I yeah, I have him winning an award. So,
Oh,
um,
okay. Okay.
and
Fantastic.
then James Tolkien is in there, and he's been in a bunch of different things.
Yeah.
The one for me that really stood out, I'm like, oh, he was the principal in Back to the Future.
Oh, yeah. Okay, and yeah, that's one of my favorite scenes, and it always makes me laugh is when he's coming out. It's him, right? When he comes out of the office and the guy runs into him with the coffee.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah,
that's twice.
yeah, yeah.
I love him.
I have tons of notes on this movie,
Okay,
so
okay, let's go. Yeah,
so we can maybe I'll pull some of them in when we go through the categories, but the opening scene is just so good. Like, literally from, like, that first moment, the music hits,
yep,
they set it up so well.
yep.
Um, yeah, I mean, it just goes from, like, that classic song into, like, Highway to the Danger Zone. Like, they started off fast, like, right
And
away.
that's a real life working, you know, fortress, like floating fortress. Like that was all filmed. Like that wasn't a set. That was
That was
all.
all aircraft carrier, like,
Yeah, yeah.
oh,
The
wow.
the great people in the Navy at work, and they were just. I mean, it's Bruckheimer. He just knows how to frame all of that, how to build the tension, how to just have the visual that enhances I mean, the music, and I feel like I seem to recall that that was one of the first movies that really incorporated the soundtrack to
Mm,
tell the story as it goes.
yeah.
And I mean, it's masterfully done. It's just such
Yeah, it
a
is.
work of
Yeah,
art.
music, like, that is one thing I want to introduce a new category
Yeah.
today, because we've never had one about music before, even though it
Oh,
comes up in some of our other episodes.
yeah.
But I agree. I feel like the music in this movie is so important.
Yes.
Um,
Yes.
that yeah, I want to get your take on what we should name it.
Yeah. Well, and we should definitely, if we have another discussion about music specifically, or music and sound, Christopher Nolan is a master at sound, lack of sound, making sound push the scene. Like, yeah, we could go off on tangents about that too.
Yeah, yeah. All right. Before we go into some of the award categories, is there
Yes.
anything that you want to talk about, just in general about the movie?
I I mean, the overarching theme really is it's so applicable to, I feel like, our society today is we are stronger. We may have differences, right? But we are stronger when we all work together towards a common goal. And I think that this has, like, the bad guys for sure, the guys in the dark visors. You can't see who they are, you just know that they are the bad guys. And then you have different groups of people that have different ideas about how to achieve their goals, but it really takes a full team effort to achieve that. So I do love this as a feel good film about everyone working together.
Yeah, and that's good. I think for me, like, the biggest one was actually, like, it, it kind of surprised me rewatching it, of, like, I don't know how good of a guy Tom Cruise is, of Maverick.
Oh,
Like, with him being basically, like, the hero of this movie, he does a
oh,
lot of crappy
interesting.
things.
Oh, but eventually he comes around to supporting his team,
He
right? Like
does.
that's his
Yeah.
inner struggle for
Yep.
like the climax of the movie is like, can he move past his own demons and
Right.
really really help his team out? Like that's yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yep. Which I love that story arc to it, but the surprising thing to me was, like, why do people like him
Yeah.
so much? Like, what was it, like that was the component that I'm like, oh, like, Yeah, he did do a lot of crappy things. He
Yeah.
he put a lot of people at risk. But a lot of people were in his corner. Um,
Hmm.
and I couldn't quite figure out like why that was, because
Sure.
it doesn't really show it in the movie. A lot of
That's
the things
interesting.
I
Well,
feel like he does is like, I would, I kind of agree with Val Kilmer. Like,
yeah, yeah,
he
yeah.
is dangerous. He should be
That's
out
right.
there.
That's right. That's right. No, he called it, right? He called it.
Yeah,
Um, and I think so. What's attractive about him is the confidence, right? And he kind of sets his mind to something and just goes for it and kind of
yeah,
like doesn't care about the naysayers. And I think there's an old school charm to that, which I think is what most of that initial exposition rides on, right? That
yeah,
he'll get by on his charm. His pedigree is there. Like his dad was in the service. His dad was a war hero, and died doing the right thing. So as a legacy, he's expected to live up to that, right? Like
yeah, yeah,
that's the whole crux of the situation. So
yeah,
it's his cockiness, it's his attitude, it's his cowboy tendencies that help him still succeed, even if it's not exactly kosher,
yeah,
right?
yep, yep, yep. All right, so let's start out with the John Keating Award. This is in like based on the Robin Williams character in Dead Poet Society, like where
Yes.
like there's clearly one, if there was one person that was like the best teacher, the best mentor, who is that for you? Who stands out?
I mean, I that would probably be Tom Skerritt, right? Is that the easy answer?
That was my, that one to me. I was like, I'm trying to think if there's even really anyone else that I would even put in there. Like he is
Yeah,
just like that perfect mentor of like encouraging him when he makes mistakes, but then
yeah,
like kind of reeling him in when he gets too cocky, but just always believing in him and always like encouraging him.
right. And I think knowing what to emphasize with Maverick, right? Like knowing that he observes that the legacy is important to Maverick, which is why they go back and talk about how valiantly his father fought. Um, and he knows when to look past the shenanigans because it's not the shenanigans that's going to be the core of rising to the challenge.
The hard component to movies, especially a movie like this,
Yeah.
is that it is so focused on like the hero of the movie, that if you pull in more of like the educational side of things, of
Mm-hmm.
like, like, was he a good teacher for everyone? Like, did everyone feel that way or not?
Mm-hmm.
And that's the part that's kind of hard to tell. Like, did he make Iceman better or not?
Yeah, there's not a lot. Especially in this first movie, it's kind of like Iceman, you know, gets into a tricky situation and needs to be kind of rescued from it. So he's almost penalized for having that same level of cockiness, right?
Yeah,
That Maverick possesses. So yeah, it's interesting how that is developed, but kind of Iceman's left undeveloped in that sense. Like he doesn't
right.
have that arc, that same arc that
Yeah.
Maverick has.
Yeah. And again, it's hard to tell because it's clearly a
It's the
movie
80s.
around Maverick
Nobody
and
cares.
it's 80s.
Every
But
character has
yeah,
arc to them.
but I always I always like thinking of that, and I love movies where there's like, or when there's like spin-offs on characters that don't play the dominant role.
Yeah,
Or like, to me, I've just always liked that theme of movies where all of a sudden now you're following someone else and you're seeing their experience through a different
yeah,
perspective. I
yeah,
mean, this one clearly, it's like everything about this entire Top Gun
yep,
school it is revolves around Maverick. Like, he steals like so much of the attention of like all
yeah.
the instructors, and so much of the attention.
Do you feel that they addressed that in Top Gun Maverick? Because I got the sense that they might have a self-awareness about that as well. And do you remember he's walking through, the hallway, and they have all of these photos of Iceman, right?
Yeah,
Receiving awards, receiving
that's true.
captain, like
Yeah.
whatever, like all of these professional accolades. So I wonder if they knew that we were going to have this conversation. And that's
I know, I know. Well, you know what? That's really
kind
interesting
of
because
reminiscent.
I am coming off of last night rewatching Maverick too. And you know what? Like it's almost, and one of our last award categories is like where are they now? And it kind of gets
Yeah,
answered for us by
yeah,
by this. And but he almost like he didn't learn his lesson like his entire career. Like everyone, the whole like theme of Maverick is that he's still a captain, and why hasn't he progressed in
right,
his career? And
right.
it's because he's still selfish and he's still doing things, that are. I guess you can say like he was trying to save the program, like when he does the Mach 10 thing at the beginning of it.
Yeah,
At least he states that he goes, "Well, I know if I don't do this, everyone's going to lose their jobs."
sure.
But he just did it because he wanted to do
That's right.
it.
Because someone told him no, right?
Right, exactly. Yeah.
Right. Which has like there are leadership qualities to that, right? Like
Yeah. Yep. There
in
are. I mean, there are.
a
Yeah.
world
I
of
mean,
no's, like
yep.
if that motivates you to prove those no's wrong, then you are setting your own pace.
Yeah. I mean, these themes are definitely, both of these movies are definitely like the individual, even though like the teamwork is needed,
Yeah.
but it is very much of like one individual can make a big difference.
Yeah.
All right. So do we give it to Viper, Tom Skillett for teacher? For
I
the
think
the
so.
John Keating Award. All right. So
Yeah.
clicks. I had a harder time on this. Like they're definitely there, but they're different than what we've typically seen in more of like these school related movies. But what type of stereotypes are reinforced in the movie? I got a few, but I want to hear
Oh yeah.
some of your thoughts here.
I mean, certainly it's evident in the like locker room scene, right? Like you got the guys that they're having their not not in a negative way, but their locker room talk, and Maverick and Goose walk in, and they're like the outsiders. Like that's like quintessential cool kid group with misfits, joining the group. I mean, I think that's pretty, like,
Yeah.
yeah, that's clear.
Yeah. Yeah. There was definitely. I mean, it felt like if you put like a sports movie theme into this, like it was like they were the jocks. They were like
Totally,
the cool jocks.
totally.
Um, yeah, and I would say the stereotypes of just like men versus women in here are pretty strong. Of it, like even like when he first hits on Charlie at the
Yes.
bar of like, oh, let me explain to you like what
But
what a pilot
I do love
does.
that she's empowered. Like she is like, I am not having that. And then she plays along just because she
Yeah.
finds it funny, right? Like I feel like she was in a very strong position.
Yes.
Um, and of course, the follow-up scene is like the next day when she's giving a
Yes.
lesson and the, the glasses go off. You remember that?
Yep.
He pushes his glasses up. Like that is, oh, I love that scene because he's so embarrassed about the way that he
Yep.
acted towards his teacher, right?
Yeah. Yep. Yep. Yeah. And those scenes, I mean, both of those like early scenes of setting up, like just those dynamics
Yeah,
yeah, just like that locker room talk, the trash talking that's going on. Like those are some of the funniest scenes. Like those are so good. Just like the
yeah,
one liners back and forth
yeah. And
that
I
they
do
had to each other.
feel like Meg Ryan too, like just bringing the female element to the screen. I mean, I really feel that she did I adore her. I think she's a wonderful actress. I think she did such an excellent job of bringing humanity to what the rest of the family of a
Yes.
service member feels, and has to go through and has to tolerate. It was very touching, and still all about Maverick, right? Like at the end, she's consoling him and she's being the strong one. But like, I just felt that that was a real heart that she brought to
Yeah.
that role.
Yeah. And along those lines, like, do you have family? Like, do you have military family background?
Yeah, my dad was in first the Israeli army, and then when I was born, he joined the American army.
Oh,
So
wow.
he
That's
loved
really
the army, and he was good at it. And yeah, he was involved in the attack helicopter division, and then ended up becoming a commercial pilot.
Very cool. All
Hmm.
right. So it is, yeah. So it's heavy for you. So,
Yeah.
my wife went to Air Force Academy for the
Oh,
first year,
wow.
and she's like, you wouldn't believe, like, even though like this is a movie about the Navy, you would think
Right.
like, no, we don't embrace it. She's like, no, it was like so much influence over everyone. And
Sure.
one of the big reasons why people went to the Air Force was because of
She should be on
this
this
movie.
call.
I know. I know. Like she would be able to tell me, yeah, every one of those fighter jets and be like which one it is, and yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, all the stuff that yeah is nonsense that was made up in the movie. Cuz
Right, right. But to that point, I feel like they tried to make up for it in Maverick because he, if I'm not mistaken, I believe he trained with fighter pilots and he actually flew or at least like rode in those
yeah.
aircraft,
Yeah.
at Mach speeds, like just to get like real
Yeah.
sensation from it. And all of the stunts I thought were still done by actual pilots, not by CGI, if I'm not mistaken.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah,
That makes sense. Yeah. I mean, cuz it does not feel like there's really any CGI in this movie at
no,
all.
no.
Yeah.
And I do believe I watched this when Maverick came out. There's a video interviewing the pilots that
Oh,
flew
cool.
the planes for Maverick. So they can give you like all the backstory about that.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
It's still like it is still amazing every time a fighter jet flies over anywhere. Like it is
Oh,
amazing how loud they are, and
so much power. Yeah.
yeah. Yeah, I mean we have it a little bit in Arizona where there's Luke Air Force Base, but we're on the other
Yes.
side of town, but every once in a while they'll come over here doing some type of training, and yeah, it's amazing. It
Yeah,
stops
you have
everyone.
the open
Everyone
sky
goes
over
out to go
there,
look.
right? You have the
Yes.
open
Yep.
sky and the like large landing fields and everything. So I feel like you get to see a lot of the maneuvers.
Yeah. Yep. Yep. Which is awesome. All right, class clown. Who this is another easy one, at least for me. Like who's the one that's always stealing the show with like those quick one-liners? They may not have like the most screen time, but they
Yeah.
definitely get most of the humor.
I mean, Goose was really funny that way. Like I feel
Yeah.
like he had some great one-liners in the script. And of course Hollywood, was it Hollywood?
Trying to
Hollywood was
think what
he was kind of like the jokester,
yeah.
but
Was
more in the
Hollywood
background.
okay. Does Hollywood fly with Iceman? Like
Yes.
was he okay, all right.
Yes.
So they had yeah, all right. Yeah.
But I would say more so Goose was kind of like, you know,
Yeah,
making the jokes, poking fun at Maverick. Like,
yeah, just that whole scene that we were talking about, like when he explains what they did, and he's like, "Oh, I gotta." Like, he's like, "What were you doing?" And yeah, when he gave him the bird, and with the he's got a really nice Polaroid that still cracked me up watching that scene.
international relations. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, that was great. Is there like one? We call it the homecoming scene, but it's usually like that iconic like scene, like the where there is most of the tension or like the buildup is going to this. I thought there were a couple different ones that you can say in here. But was there one scene for you that you're like that was like the main the main scene on the movie?
Are we talking about like just just climax or just furthering the plot? Like that's
Either
hard. That's
way, I
really there's
know.
lots of those,
Yeah.
right? Um, okay, so in order of appearance, um, I would imagine the the scene where he and Maverick and Charlie get into like a verbal disagreement, and then they chase each other. So you have the motorcycle, vroom, and then you have that
Yes.
cute little car that
Yeah, going through the
I
red
love it.
lights.
I forget what model that is, but it's like a British like cute little race car. And she's chasing him, and and then they stop and they have their argument, and then that's the scene. And then I mean, the next one is obviously when they're doing the training, and poor Goose, right?
Yeah.
Like that's like
Yeah. Yeah.
the visual of the green, like the green floating away from Maverick and Goose in the middle of the ocean, and
Yeah.
oh, and then
Yeah.
I mean, and then I would say not the climax, but the lead up to it is when they're all at the awards ceremony, and then they get read who's going on this
Yeah, on
mission.
that mission. Yep.
That's like,
Yeah.
okay, let's gear up. And so those would be my top three like
Yeah.
big
Yeah.
moments.
Yeah. I mean, I would say like yeah, that last scene, like like the fight scene to me was like one of those where yeah, I mean it had all the emotions at the end of like, yes,
Sure.
like they did it. But there were a couple that I thought about of just iconic type of scenes. Like one
Yeah.
I think you're right. Like with the car going through there, and I did read like that was their first kiss in the movie, and he was supposed to have a line before he kissed her, but he forgot his line, so he just leaned in and kissed her, and they
Really?
liked it, so they kept that one. But the two like to me like iconic things that I remember are the volleyball scene
Oh, yeah.
and the Great
I mean,
Balls of Fire, like
listen,
just
I didn't
playing at
want
the
to be
piano.
gratuitous here, but yeah.
But that was like such an 80s like like yeah, yes.
Yeah, which turned into football on the beach for Maverick. So
Yes.
can't
Yep.
complain. So, still objectives achieved.
Yeah, yeah. All right, was there anything that stood out for you as we call this the realistic or ridiculous? Anything to you that you're like, "Oh, that was super realistic," or something on the other side that was like that was the most ridiculous thing, like that would have never happened?
Well, probably the inverted, right?
Yes.
Like that.
Yes.
I think it can. I'm sure it can be done, but I don't know.
I
I
can't
don't know
imagine
that.
anyone like overtly disobeying orders like
Correct.
that and doing those types of things.
Orders or would be that risky, right? Because
Hmm.
you just don't know how the other party is going to respond. So I think service members are very respectful of each other and wouldn't put each other in that type of position.
Yeah, yeah, totally agree. The realistic for me was actually like some of those classroom scenes when they were like
Uh-huh.
breaking down the film. Like they were going and the technology then versus now was like, it
Oh,
looked like a lot
yeah.
of dots on the screens. But
Yeah.
I'm like, yeah, like one, I hope they do that type of things. But
Sure.
to me, that was like one of those. I'm like, yeah, that does seem like really realistic that they are taking the time to like go back and review everything that happened in that training.
Yeah. Yeah. Has your wife ever taught
No,
in flight school? No?
no, no,
Has she thought about it?
no. She didn't. She left after her first year
Okay.
at Air Force,
Okay.
so she didn't go through all that. And yeah, she went completely different career and went nursing after that.
Okay.
Yeah, but hearing just some of the like some of the missions and some of the things that they did, like
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I mean that's very real training,
Oh
and they
yeah.
do yeah, and they break it down afterward
Yep.
to make sure that you get the lessons learned from it.
Have you ever wondered how a simple change in your classroom can revolutionize learning? At K 12, we believe the physical space is key. When we partnered with Gary Community Schools in Indiana, something incredible happened. Their classrooms were outdated and uninspiring. Using our radically student centered approach, we reimagined their spaces. The transformation was nothing short of amazing. Teachers saw immediate results, students came back from winter break excited, more engaged, collaboration increased, and overall performance improved. One student even shared, "We have new furniture, it's like Christmas all over again." On the first day back, local media came in to cover the story, capturing the joy and excitement of students discovering their new learning environments. See how we can transform your school today. Visit kay-twelve.com to learn more about our innovative approach. K-12, because every student deserves an inspiring place to learn. Visit kay-twelve.com today.
All right, the next one, we call it the iPhone effect. So part of this is like, if it was made today, how would it be different? There's a lot of there's a lot in here, like technology that would be different.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Mine, I'll just tell you, my glaring one was the Polaroid. You don't take your Polaroid; they would just pull out their phone and take their
Isn't that
picture
adorable?
of
Yeah.
that. Yeah, and that'd be yeah, and they would have some type of group text or WhatsApp, some type where
Right.
they are heckling and trash talking each other
Right.
that way.
Right. Yeah. And also, I mean, to your point about the video, I mean, they're monitoring pilots like heart function and
Oh, that's true.
all, right? Like all of those
Yeah.
biometrics would be monitored, and just I would imagine that they're monitored so that they can be enhanced, or not enhanced in a like medical way, but just how do we improve, right? How do we improve the plane's mobility? How do we improve like our pilot's comfort level or our
Yeah.
stress points? I feel like a lot of those things are paid attention to now. I would like to think that.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, that's really interesting. I didn't think about that. Like just how all of those dynamics would really affect.
Hmm.
And then obviously the technology on the planes is probably totally different
Right, right.
now.
Well, and that's the charm of Maverick too, is that they have to find the old planes and they don't know how to even,
Right.
fly them, right? Because they're so old.
Yep.
Because they're
Yep.
they're like the computers were it was still,
Yeah.
for lack of a better term, the knob and tube, before the
Yeah.
90s. So and now
Yep.
it's all computerized. Like they pretty much fly themselves for the most part.
Yeah, and they hit in the second one too of just like the drones where you don't even have human pilots anymore. Like,
Right,
why would you put a human at risk
right.
when you can just have the drone go in there
Yeah.
and do it that way? You know, talking about this, it actually reminded me of like some real real world things that really affected like how we approach our work in education.
Hmm.
Um, but have you ever read the book The End of Average? Are you familiar with
No, no,
the
who?
concept? All right. We'll put a link in here because there's a
Yeah.
great TED talk to it. It's Todd Rose wrote the book and he's got a really good TED talk to it. But he starts out the book with the example of fighter jets
Huh.
and saying that um, when they were having a lot of incidents, the Air Force, they started figuring out, they're like, well, how do we design a cockpit so that all of our, and I think they had like 4,000 pilots, how do we do this so that everyone can reach things that they need
Mm-hmm.
to in split second because it's life or death
Mm-hmm.
decision. So they went and they looked at 10 different body parts and they started measuring like forearms and torso and your leg and trying to figure out how to design the perfect cockpit.
Mm-hmm.
And what they did is they collected all the data and then averaged it together. And then of those 10 data points, they looked at how many of their pilots were within one standard deviation of
Yeah.
all of them. And they came to their answer was that there were zero, literally zero. Like if they were going to design a cockpit for the average size of all of those 10 components, they would literally be designing the airplane for no one
Huh.
because they had all these different dynamics to it. So that's what actually that technology, because they did that, they developed the technology where they had adjustable seats and
Oh,
adjustable
that's
backs and
interesting.
adjustable steering wheel
Yeah.
to do that. But that book, The End of Average, really takes that concept of like a lot of times in education, we're trying to design this around the average student, but we are missing the boat when we do
Yeah.
that.
You're designing for zero.
You're designing for zero. So you're better off designing for more flexibility
Yeah.
so that you can kind of reach the edges of each of those.
Yeah.
So it was a big yeah, like that book and that philosophy really impacted a lot of the way we approached our work about
I think that's
7 8 years ago.
wonderful. Yeah.
Yeah.
It is a real task, you know, in a lot of projects in education that I've been a part of. The teachers just want air conditioning, right? They want Maslow's basic needs.
Yeah, give me the basic needs. Yep.
And you're like, and new furniture, they're like, great. Like they don't even care, right? If you
Yes.
told them and we're giving you 5 beanbag chairs and a table that's off the floor, they would love it, right? And they don't, it hurts my heart, but I feel so happy that I get to help teachers with that, with that forward thinking, you know, because
Yeah.
they don't have time to, they
No.
don't have
Yeah.
energy to, and literally they just want air conditioning. So like it's a joy to really put additional options in front of them so that they can just do an even better job. And these are, you know, rock star teachers. Like they will do what they can and buy their own crayons and do everything for their kids. And here's like a profession where you can actually like help them do even more, right? And so
Yeah.
that they don't feel like just like without tools. And then the kids, if you're not a round peg and you're a square peg and you're trying to find, you know, you only have round holes, like of course it's going to be awkward. And then that's for 12 years of your life that it's going to be that way. So if you can give the kids agency and you know give them options, so maybe they need a rocker one day and the other day they can sit in the chair,
Exactly.
you know, or they
Yeah.
want to sit on the floor and the floor has a pad on the floor that they, so
Yeah. Yep.
yeah, I agree with you.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Yeah. I think we can hit at least two more of these
Okay.
categories. The substitute. If you were going to take any of these roles, would you put a different actor or actress in any of these roles? Because I had a hard time with this because there's a lot that I'm like, man, they got them perfect. Like
So I
those are like
know, right? These
perfectly
are like
cast.
iconic. Like I would want to see Anthony Edwards in every movie since Top Gun. You know, like and Tom Cruise does Tom Cruise wherever he goes. So that's a certain type of
Yeah.
attitude. I thought Maverick did a good job of kind of instituting the newer kids into the plot line
Yeah.
with Tom Cruise. But I'm a big fan of Florence Pugh, and I feel like she would make a great Charlie, like
Ooh.
in a modern day, right? Like she's just so solid. And I feel like no matter what role you put her in, she's in a power position. Like that's just her her essence. And I
Yeah.
feel like she would do an awesome job in that.
Yeah. I struggled with anyone in there. I was trying to think like in that era, like if you're gonna look at like lead roles, I feel like you can't take Tom Cruise out of this. Like Tom Cruise like
No,
is Top Gun.
that's right.
Like
That's right.
so I was thinking too like more the female lead. And I felt like I thought Kelly McGillis did a good job in
She did
that
a good
role, but I'm
job.
like but I think you probably could have put some other people in there too. And
Yeah.
so I had a wild card. I'm like, what if you put like Madonna in that role? She
Yeah.
like how realistic or unrealistic would that have been at that time in her career? Because she was
Right.
like
Right.
right in the prime of her music career. Um,
And she did great, you know, in her movies, but she was still like the way that Tom Cruise is always Tom Cruise, like Madonna is always Madonna, you know?
yeah,
So
yeah,
I don't know if there
yeah,
would be like another contemporary of Kelly McGillis that could have like at that in that
yeah,
time frame, right?
yeah,
But she was quintessential 80s too, right? Like the square jaw, the blonde hair, the blue eye,
yeah,
like that was totally 80s.
yeah. I'm thinking of like what was. Yeah, she wouldn't have been old enough though. What's her name? She was in Adventures in Babysitting, like Elizabeth. can't think of her last name right now.
Okay. Yeah.
But she probably wouldn't have been old enough to like be in that role.
Right.
There. So yeah. All right. We'll stick with the original cast.
Next one.
All right, next one. All right. So part of this is answered, but there is an unanswered on this is where are they now? If you hadn't seen the sequel of Maverick coming back, where would you have thought Maverick would be?
I
I
would have
mean, they
thought,
they ended with him going to be a teacher
yeah,
in the movie.
yeah.
But what would you have thought he'd be doing?
Yeah, that's what I would have assumed. Like he would become the Tom Skerritt of whatever,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
he would be the Viper in his life after Top Gun.
Yeah. Yeah. How about Charlie? Where is she now? Because she is not in the second movie.
Right. And what I imagined was that she took a government job and then was based out of DC the rest of
Hmm.
her career. And then,
She totally would have been a politician or have some type of
or just retired young and, you
yeah
know,
yeah yep yep cool. All right. Any final words or things that we missed? I'm gonna look through my notes here too.
no, I mean, yeah, I think it's a perfect example of Americana, right? Um, I love it for so many reasons, and it's that feel good movie that I put on the TV when I just need a pick me up. So
Yep.
yeah, it's great.
Yep. All right. I have a lot of notes on the music. So,
Yeah.
what would be a good name for like a music category that's
Oh,
school related?
oh no, I have to get back to you on that one. I gotta do some
I want to
research.
start a new category for this. But what was there? Which song or what part of the music really was the winner for you?
I mean,
Because
Danger
there's a
Zone
lot of good
for sure,
Danger Zone. Yeah,
for sure. Yeah,
yeah,
because it sets the scene, right? It sets everything up for the high stakes.
yeah,
No points for second best, right? Oh
yeah.
wait,
But there
no,
there
that's
was a
the other
lot of
one.
good music.
Yeah, that's the other one. That's the ending because Danger Zone is the one that
Da-
opens the movie, and
yeah.
then the ending one is Mighty Wings, right?
Oh, okay. All right, I didn't catch that. But there was a lot of good music in there. We went from You Lost That Loving Feeling, that had a
Oh,
big role in the
yes,
movie when he
which
hits
is
on
not
her
on
with
the
that song.
soundtrack. Do you know that?
Oh, it's not. I
No, it's
didn't know
not. They
that.
didn't get the
They
rights
didn't
to
want to
it.
pay for that one, huh?
Yeah.
And then they have Otis Redding sitting on the dock of the bay, one of my favorite songs. Like that
Yes.
was so good.
Yes.
Um, and then you have Great Balls of Fire in
Yes.
there. Anything else? I feel like there was one more.
Take my breath
And
away.
then and Take My Breath Away. Yep. Um, yeah, and then they bring in Lost That Loving Feeling again at the end with the
Yeah.
jukebox. Yeah. Yeah, a lot of good music in there. And then just like the beats
Right.
to like the
The
theme
score.
song. Yeah, the score. Yeah.
Yeah.
Which I don't really know how to play the piano, but that's like one of the ones that I learned as a kid that if I like see a piano, I have like my like 3 or 4 songs that I'll play with like one hand.
Which one do you play?
The do 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 do.
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah.
that one. Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah.
That's really cool. You break that out at a party.
No.
Well,
If
you
I
should.
do, that would not be a good party. All right. Well, there was a lot in here. I liked it a lot. I mean, just tying it back to education, just I mean, hands-on learning. I mean, experiential learning that you have the classroom, but you also have the chance to actually do it and try it and get feedback and then learn from it, learn from the failures
Right.
and overcome it.
And then
But
become a teacher.
yeah, yep, yeah, and then go on and and help the next group with that. All right, Stacey, what else? Real world, what's going on in yours? What are the types of things you're working on these days?
We have no less than 8 school projects that are going to bid.
Well, all right. Well, before I do that, give us your background. We jumped right into the movie, but like, tell me like
My
what's
background is
your
Top
what's your
Gun.
yeah like obviously like your LinkedIn profile is Top Gun
Yes, yes, Top
enthusiast,
Gun
but after
enthusiast.
that, like how give
That's
a
my
little background of the type of work you do.
professional realm. So I'm an interiors team leader at an architectural firm in Western New York. I've been with them almost 2 years now. I have a team of 5 designers that we work mostly on K through 12 projects. So not K-12, but K through 12 projects. And I would say that makes up 80% of the company's business. So it's pretty big. And it's in mostly Western New York and then Pennsylvania now as well. So we do that day to day. We meet with teachers, we meet with superintendents, we make sure that we are providing spaces that, like you and I talked about, provide agency and, this like overwhelming sense of just safety, security, and creativity, right, in a teaching space. So that's our main goal. My background is non-traditional. I went to school for engineering. I finished with a communications degree, and then I worked in television early in my career. What I learned was that I love telling a story. So even with a client's brand, I'm telling it now in a 3D realm. I'm telling a story, right? So that's really fun and engaging for me because you have to think about a bazillion things that go into every space. And I love that. And I love the integration of art into a space. So public spaces, schools, these are all like hitting my heart where it matters most. So
Yeah. Oh,
that's
I
what I
love that.
do.
I didn't know that. Yeah. So what type of TV stuff are you
Like
doing?
on air. Like I worked
Okay.
for MSNBC my first year out
Okay.
of college. And then I worked for New York's PBS station.
Oh,
So
cool.
I was happy
Cool.
to support the efforts of Big Bird. It was incredible. That was for 2 years, and it was
Nice.
really just, it was all feel good stuff. You're just helping people learn. And that's obviously, I came back around to that
Yeah.
too.
Yeah. Oh, that's cool. I thought that was going to be my career. Yeah, I was in college for mass communication, thought I was going to do video production, wanted to do sports documentaries, but never like professionally went down that
Yeah.
path. Yeah. Trying to get back to it.
Well, you're on your way, right? I mean, with your podcast, that's
Well, it is,
broadcasting.
it is, and it's that storytelling, and it's
Yeah.
being able to find an audience and be able to, yeah, really be able to impact. And like from ours, as we always talk about, how do we positively impact education? I do think there is an opportunity, and we need to, as an industry, continue to get better and better at
Yes.
explaining the importance and the impact these have by telling real stories
Yes.
about these about spaces and just like the state of education as it is right now. So yeah, I like digging into that a lot. Awesome. Well, anything else before we wrap up?
No, I just really appreciate the work you do. I mean, we met over a year and a half ago now, and I've followed you guys, and I just think, yeah, we are doing some positive, effective work, right? And I commend you for continuing to tell this story and to getting the word out. I think
Oh, it.
it's a
Thank
valiant
you, but it
effort.
is. I mean, it really is a community. Like it
Yeah.
is. It's really awesome to have the community involved and be able to get voices on a platform like this. Because it's one of the best storytelling things. So could I pick on you on something?
Of course.
All right. So you started out. You're saying you got a bunch that are going out to bid.
Yes.
All right. Talk through that process with me of what's going out to bid and how that process works.
So I would say the group of projects that we have. So everyone tries to get their bids out. So that means the bid documents. So all of our construction drawings, all of our specifications, those get sent out for general contractors to provide numbers, right? Put a number to that information. And then the hope is the reason why they're all going out now is because everyone wants to start construction for the summer when the
Yeah.
kids are out of school. So that is, and usually that's like a 2 year long process. So you get your firm, your architectural firm gets awarded the bid. You do all this design development, in coordination with the district. And then that usually takes a good amount of a year. And then you have the bids. If you're on schedule, it takes a year, right?
Right.
If anything
Right.
gets changed along the way, or if the regulatory committee decides, no, you can't do that, or hey, we're changing how bathrooms need to be, you have to literally go back to the drawing board and redo your drawings. So I would say a year to a year and a half it takes, and then it goes into construction. And then depending on the scale of what you're building or renovating, it could be another year before you have
Yeah.
finished photos.
Yeah. It's amazing. Yeah. I mean, we always say we're working on projects, at
Yeah.
least 2 or 3 years ahead of time.
Yes.
So with your role in interiors, at what point do the conversations about furniture, FF&E, when does that start happening?
There isn't a difference between understanding what the teachers and the administrators and everyone in the building needs and what you do for FF&E. There's a difference in the schedule of confirming those selections, but it should be from day one, right? And some
Yeah.
project managers are better about making sure we are at that first meeting with the district to say, what are the goals of this project? What are we trying to achieve here? Because it's not only where do the walls go and what new bathrooms do we need? It's how do you want to use the space? And I know that K-12 does a fabulous job of trying to get to the heart of what that is. And like I mentioned earlier, like a lot of teachers just they haven't even gotten to that point in, do I want to continue teaching this way, or do I have some new ideas that I really want to test out? So if interiors is involved early enough in that process, then we get to build that, design that for them. So it should be day one. It's not always, but
yeah.
yeah.
Well, that's why I dug in there a little bit, and because we spent a lot of time, and we did this 3-part series on the podcast in the fall of how can we really change that approach, and as I did that, I interviewed like 40 or 50 people that are ALEPs, like in the A4LE community, and just said, hey, tell me about like your most successful projects, and what are some of the core components, some of the key things that made it so successful. And we kept coming back to is it's this collaborative approach. It's when these discussions are being had early on, and you're getting all the voices at the table, the key voices, not everyone, but at least representation from like the main areas. And it was really interesting going through that. It feels like there is a large part of the country that does do that approach. And then there's still a large part of the country that I think is getting smaller, or maybe just because the way we work on it, we are very collaborative early on, that does view it of like, we'll deal with furniture later. We'll write a spec and we'll bid it out later.
Right.
And that's the one thing that we're just like, if we look at this more with a collaborative approach, we can make a lot bigger impact, and like all the positives. So that 3-part series was really interesting and insightful for even from my perspective of hearing how everyone approached it, from the school leaders to the architect. So if people have not heard that, I would highly recommend go looking those up and try to find them.
No, it's very important, but I don't know that if you come from a district that has that ladder vision of we'll bid it out later, it's very hard to, I guess, make enough noise.
I know.
When we start talking about it, let's start talking about it.
So that's been my one takeaway, is that does seem to be like the main reason why furniture is that there will be somebody be like, oh, we have a furniture person, or this is how we do furniture. And the one thing that I've heard from other people say of just asking, be like, what if you just picked your furniture partner? Instead of waiting to the end, you get someone, and man, we got really off the rails here from Top Gun. So sorry about that. but I like talking about like my experience, my wife and I, when we bought 3 homes, and since we've been married. And the first time we got a realtor in, and they kind of showed us around and gave us some insight. They pretty much were there for the transaction, and then the next week we had a leak in the basement, and they didn't answer their phone call after that. And so we were kind of like, like they didn't really add that much value. So the
Right.
next time we did for sale by owner, and we just did all the search ourselves. But at the end, you still have to have a realtor come in to
Yeah.
do the documents. And ultimately, at the last minute, we had to get a realtor in, and they got the same fees as the first time around. And
You
then the
did all
third
the
time,
legwork.
yeah, and we did
Yeah.
all the legwork.
Yeah.
And then the third time, we had this amazing realtor who like really tried to find out what we were looking for. Like knew our budget, knew the area we were looking at. Like they really went through it. They tried to find things off market, and do some outreach. They helped us through like getting us like the mortgage connections.
Yeah.
And then even like the inspection, they were like, oh, they were worried about something, and they were like, let's bring in, like, I know people, like, let's bring in these people to
That's
get,
amazing.
some additional quotes. And they just were there through the whole process. And ultimately, all 3 of those realtors got their same fees
Right.
on it.
So one was worth
But
it.
yeah, but what, like you could have like this extra layer of expertise on your team
Right. Right.
to do that. And so that's why I'm always like, if there is one question that we can all ask in our industry, is have you picked your partner yet?
Yeah.
And really say, like, I highly recommend you pick your partner. Even if you're going to handle it, instead of waiting to the end, pick your partner now and
Absolutely.
bring them to the table on there. And so that's my soapbox on this.
Yeah. No,
After talking to a lot of people, I'm like, I think that's the one thing we can do that could really drive change in the industry. So
I was thinking about how else we can broadcast this, just in terms of encouraging. I mean, and you guys are going to the conferences. So if you're going to superintendent's conferences, that's a
yeah,
like prime example, because I don't know that everyone's on LinkedIn, and I don't know that
right.
everyone's on Instagram,
It's hard to reach everyone. Yeah,
Yeah,
it
it's
is.
so
Yeah,
hard. There's so many disparaging channels, right? Like
yeah,
or disparate channels. Like they're
yeah,
just far apart from each other. You don't know who's going to be on what. You don't know how to necessarily reach people. It's not like you can send a card in the mail anymore and make sure and get like a 10% return even.
yeah, yeah,
So
yeah,
yeah, I
yeah. Yeah. And to me, it always comes back as we can get into like the details of our industry. But if we really always take that really high level approach of like a lot of these times where they're building new schools or doing major renovations, this is their one shot for
yeah,
30, 50 years. And
right,
we owe it, we owe it to the communities, to the students, to just say like, hey, we need to be able to really put some thought into this and make
yeah,
sure that we're doing this, the most impactful way. And yeah, and I'm always the one that's like, at the end of the day, like that plaque is going to be in the school, just like there's a plaque in the lobby of every school in this country. And do you want it to be something that you're proud of and something
right.
that, really leaves a legacy? Or do you want to just be like, oh yeah, we got that one done? And what I love about our industry is so many people are so passionate about the work that we do that
hmm
like, then let's do it. Like, yeah,
More,
let's,
more of
yeah,
it.
yep, yep. Yep. All right. Awesome. Stacy, it's always great talking to you. To
Evans.
the listeners, just hit subscribe wherever you're at. And then betterlearningpodcast.com is the hub for everything. So if you want to be on the show or if you have suggestions, we have forums on there. And we do review those. Like we get a lot of the suggestion from the show from the feedback. So we just are really grateful for the audience and the community that we have here. So Stacy, I'm sure we'll talk to you here soon.
Thank you so much.
All right. Thank you. The Better Learning Podcast is produced by Matt Rogers and edited by Kelly Jones. The views and opinions shared on this podcast are those of the individual speaking and do not necessarily represent the perspectives of their affiliated companies, organizations, or associations.